All right, let's get into some interesting news items from the weekend. The most interesting and the biggest one, and the one that has the most sort of comical implications, is that they finished the audit in Arizona. Now, I'm not even sure whether I should be using the term audit because it wasn't really an audit, but what was being described as an audit in Arizona meant to uncover, depending on your beliefs, that Joe Biden didn't really win and that Donald Trump really did, has finished. And it found not only did Joe Biden win, he actually won by a larger margin. His margin of victory actually expanded. So let's look at some of the reporting on this. You might think, well, this is the end, right? No. They now want more audits. They want another audit in Arizona. They want another audit elsewhere. And we'll look at a hilarious second article which points out the point of these audits is not exactly clear. So, Associated Press, Republican review finds no proof Arizona election stolen from Trump. We could stop there, but the details are actually even funnier. A Republican-backed review of the 2020 presidential election in Arizona's largest county ended Friday without producing proof to support former President Donald Trump's false claims of a stolen election. This is maybe my favorite news paragraph of the last 6 months. After 6 months of searching for evidence of fraud, the firm hired by Republican lawmakers issued a report that experts described as riddled with errors, bias, and flawed methodology. Still, even that partisan review came up with a vote tally that would not have altered the outcome, finding that Biden won by 360 more votes than the official results certified last year. Okay, it was biased. It was partisan. It may not even have been an audit, but they came up with a final number, and it's Joe Biden actually won by 360 more than what the results were in November. Now, when you look at the actual margin, and then you compare it to 360 votes, it's irrelevant, okay? The article goes on to say the finding was an embarrassing end to a widely criticized and at times bizarre quest to prove allegations that election officials and courts have rejected. It has no bearing on the final certified results. Previous reviews of the 2.1 million ballots by nonpartisan professionals that followed state law have found no significant problem with the vote count in Maricopa County, home to Phoenix. Biden won the county by 45,000 votes, key to his 10,500 vote win of Arizona. This was why they focused on Maricopa, because if Maricopa is big enough population-wise that if it was really wrong, it could have flipped the election results. Of course, there was never a reason to think that the results were really wrong. For many critics, the conclusions presented at the hearing Friday by the firm Cyber Ninjas, it's crazy that this is the world we live in. Okay, Cyber Ninjas underscored the futility of the exercise, which has helped fuel skepticism about the validity of the 2020 election and spawned copycat audits nationwide. Now, you might think it's over now. It's not. There is another article from the Associated Press from the day after these results from Saturday. Explainer, as Arizona election audit ends, new ones begin. The most closely watched attempt by Republicans to examine the 2020 presidential election in a battleground state lost by former President Donald Trump is coming to an embarrassing end in Arizona, but their efforts are cranking up elsewhere. The most recent is in Texas. We'll talk about this on the bonus show, where the Secretary of State's office announced Thursday it would conduct a full and comprehensive forensic audit of the 2020 election in 4 counties. This is my favorite. These reviews go by various names, audits or investigations, sometimes with the word forensic attached. But their scope is not always well defined or understood, even by those pushing them, which is true. Sometimes you'll talk to the people involved and they'll say, we don't really know what the mechanism is where what we would uncover would really change anything, but we're doing it. Critics say they really have one goal: to validate Trump's baseless claims that widespread fraud cost him the election, regardless of what the reviews might find. So this is the humiliating end of the much publicized Arizona audit. Now, we already talked earlier about at his rally on Saturday, if you were waiting for Trump to say, hey guys, you know what? I asked for an audit. They did the audit. Turns out Joe Biden really won. If you were waiting for that, if you were holding your breath for that, you're probably running out of breath right now. Of course he didn't do that. He said, actually, the audit results show I really, really won. Just a total complete liar. Will Sommer, who has been a guest on our show, has been covering this and actually tweeted, Arizona audit backers have been distancing themselves for weeks, saying you can't really find fraud in a recount. Or, as in the case of Michael Flynn, posting this bizarre letter from We the People demanding the Arizona Senate consider reports from even bigger kooks than cyber ninjas. Yeah, it was never going to find anything. There was nothing to find based on the evidence we had, but it was never going to find anything unless they just straight up lied. So what's next? It's over, right? No. Now they're moving on to Texas. We'll talk about that on the bonus show. One of our sponsors is Aura. Think about all of your online accounts, finances, your devices. How are you protecting them? Hacking, data breaches, identity theft. These are bigger issues now than they've ever been before. Aura is a new type of security service. It protects your online data, your internet connection, your devices with one subscription. You'll be alerted to fraud and threats quickly, like if your online accounts or passwords were leaked, or if someone tried to open a bank account in your name. With an easy online dashboard and alert sent straight to your phone, Aura keeps you in control and guides you through solving any issues. All plans come with a $1 million identity theft insurance to help recover stolen funds. So if you want to secure your online presence from hackers and scammers, check out Aura. You'll get 40% off all plans when you go to aura.com/Pacman. The link is right underneath this video.